When I hurled my brand new babe in my arms, I asked the question, what do I need to do as a parent to pass on a lifelong faith? My idea is not to make parents feel guilty. My idea is to say, here's some ideas that may help you around the 7 faith building blocks.
It's challenging being a parent. You know, there's lots of issues that you face. You know, it's so rewarding, I know, but particularly if you want your children to grow up to have a spiritual relationship with Jesus. You know, if you want them to have that relationship now, but also build the groundwork, the foundation for the future, that as adults, you know, they've learnt good practice, that they've learnt to depend on God, and just to set our kids up now so they can have a happy and fruitful spiritual relationship in the future is just so important to me as a parent, and I'm sure many other parents who are watching. And I understand you've been part of a team who've developed something that will help parents connect with their kids in building faith. Tell me about it.
Yes, you're right. It is challenging times for a parent. I'm a parent. I'm also a brand new grandparent. So
congratulations.
Yes, it's exciting. You can spoil your grandchild and then hand them back when they get too over the top. But no, I'm enjoying that experience. But I guess growing up and being passionate about children and family and children and family ministries, and having observed growing up in the church and being a minister in the church, I've noticed that a lot of our children who come through our programs, our Sabbath schools, Pathfinders, Adventurers, whatever else, for some reason choose to leave the church. And stats say we'll lose between 50 and in some cases 90% of the children who grow up in our church are leaving, and that concerns me as a dad but also as a granddad. And right back then, when I hurled my brand new babe in my arms, I asked the question, what do I need to do as a parent to pass on a lifelong faith? And that's inspired me to prayer, to research, to Bible study, to general reading, and trying to pick up what do I need to do to turn the odds, if you say, in my favour, that I'm more likely to raise my child to know and adore God.
And so can you share with me, and I've heard you speak on other occasions, you know, touching on some of these themes, but can you just share with me what are some of the most critical principles or things that parents should be doing then to ensure that the children are given every chance to stay within the church when they become adults?
I want to start by saying there's no guarantee.
Okay.
We can do everything right and raise the best child, but for some reason the child will choose to go their own way. So there's no guarantee. But as I've read the research and the scriptures and prayed about it, there's been a number of principles that have come to mind that, if you like, provide anchor points for our child's faith.
Okay.
So there's things like mentoring, having good mentors in the life of our children, things like the 5-to-1 ratio, 5 good mentors in the life of our children. That's easy to do. I can do that as a dad. There's things like the importance of spending time with your children. Children spell love as T-I-M-E. So in a busy world, how do I as a dad and a granddad find time to invest in my children? That is quality time to invest in my children. There's things like children watch what their parents do. And it's not just the seventh-day faith, it's a 7-day faith. So how am I serving and loving God in my 24/7 time, in my good times, but also my challenging times? Children have a front row seat to their parents' faith, and they're more likely to adopt their parents' faith. So there's 3 that are crucial.
That's incredible, and there's so much in those. Can I just go back to the first one about mentors then? So, you know, and you're saying 5-to-1 sort of ratio.
Yep.
So mentors could it be relatives, could it be friends, people in your church, that sort of stuff?
All of those. The
Great.
key is that every child, and it's an old saying, needs a village. It takes a village to raise a child.
Sure.
The church is the best place to raise that child in an intergenerational community.
Okay.
And so if I can find things like, okay, there's a pastor that takes special interest in my child, or a youth pastor, or a Sabbath school teacher, or a Pathfinder leader, or a adopted grandma or grandpa that's learning in the church, very quickly you can find those 5 in your church congregation that provide what we call the ad hoc mentoring. It's not saying, will you be a mentor? But as they rub shoulders with those inspiring people, they're more likely to adopt the faith they see in those people. So,
And that's really interesting. So you're talking about we or children observe and learn from the mentors, and it doesn't have to be traditional education. It's watching
it's
behaviour.
rubbing shoulders and being immersed in that
Yeah.
intergenerational community.
And then you mentioned another point too of kids are watching, our children are watching us, how we face adversity,
Yes.
how we cope with stress, how we face with the different
How does
things.
God work in those situations?
Wow.
And kids have a front row seat to our relationship with God. And often we want to do our devotions and things in private and have our private time, and that's good, but let your kids catch you. If they see Dad opening his Bible and reading,
Yeah.
they say, yeah, God's important to Dad. Maybe it does work for me too.
Yeah.
So those sorts of moments, it's in the rituals and rhythms that every family has that kids see faith in action.
And can I just check too? Like, I think I've heard you or others speak about the importance of having even like family worship together or even meals together. Can you just talk about that?
The power of the family meal, there's so much research around that if we can shut out the technology which wants to invade our time, especially us as dads, we love to have our mobile phone on 24/7 because we think it might be an important call we might miss.
Yeah.
If we can have technology-free meals, those children are more likely to adopt the values of the family.
Wow.
They're more likely to do better at school. I'll take that as a dad.
Yeah.
And they're more likely to not get involved in at-risk activities. And adopt the values of the family. So just by having 3 to 4, they've found, family meals together, technology-free time is a powerful spiritual growth motivator.
And I'm glad you said it was 3 to 4 because like we live in a busy household and people are coming and going but it doesn't have to be every meal, but of course the more meals together the better that are tech free.
Yeah.
And I guess it's about conversation, isn't it? It's talking and engaging and listening to each other and supporting each other during that mealtime.
You're right, and that's, I think, the key is not in what actually eating the meal, it's families spending time together.
Great.
And for me, that might be drive time. Right now, I drive my daughter, who's a young adult, down to Sydney every day because she works across the road here.
Great.
And for me, it's 1 or 2 more years to speak into her life. Captive audience time in the car, it works wonders. So it's just finding those times.
Great. And so obviously you work in this space, you're aware of the research, you're passionate about, helping parents and keeping kids in the church, to have that head start in life. So tell me about this innovation, this app that you've been working on. What is it and how did it come about?
Yeah, well, as a pastor, I very quickly realised that I won't convert the kids. I can preach, I can do all those things, but I don't give a faith that sticks. I can help with that. My job is to equip the parents to be as shiny as possible in their homes. And I realise that church programs don't necessarily hold our kids. Their job, again, is to impact the home. And so I thought, well, what if I can find a way to drip feed ideas into the home on a daily basis, and what would that look like? And that's where the app idea began to form.
And so you're saying drip feeding the ideas, so you're trying to equip, you're trying to encourage the parents, is that right? So you're
Yes.
speaking to the parents and you're really trying to help them on that journey, that they don't have to do it alone, but here's some ideas and resources to help them.
Yes, my idea is not to make parents feel guilty,
Sure.
because we're all pretty good at that sometimes. My idea is to say, here's some ideas that may help you. And every morning at 6 a.m. on the app, there's a little ding and there's an idea around the 7 faith building blocks that I've already started to talk about. And so the Faith Builders app, the idea is that every morning there's a simple ding, here's an idea.
Great.
I know that if parents do one of those things during the week, just one of those ideas, it's a win for me, it's a win for the church, it's a win for the kingdom.
And is this app available on the typical places you find apps?
Yes, it's thankfully available in all our app stores and on Google Play.
Sure.
in this day and age, it takes a bit more rigmarole to get it onto those platforms than it has in the past. And that took a lot of negotiating, but I got help from Damien Cox down at Albury, who runs Spoonerism. He helped provide the mechanics and held my hand through the hard process of getting it up onto the platforms. I gave him the innovation ideas of how I would see it working. So together we were able to form a team to get this up and running.
And can you give me an example of one of these ideas? So, that my phone pings and there's something, a message from you, or there's something from you, a piece of resource perhaps. Can you give me an example of what this is?
Well, it might be just a simple thing like stories give our children the weapons to defeat the dragons in life. Read your child a story today.
Great, I love it. So that's very simple.
Very simple.
Constructive.
Yeah, here's a to-do thing you can do, and knowing that we're doing that, you are passing on faith. And so each day I based it around the 7 building blocks, which we talked about parents, we've talked about time, we've talked about mentoring, we've talked about, there's things like a strong marriage. So here's a way you can grow your marriage today. So I help invest in the parents' marriage, knowing that gives them a God-sized idea of what God is like through the parents' marriage. So there's, telling stories. Each day there's a different idea around those 7 faith-building blocks.
And can anyone access this app? Is it for anyone, any parent?
Well, it is sponsored and produced as an asset by the Sydney Adventist Conference, so they paid for it, and so it's free. So
Great.
You don't have to be in the Sydney Conference to use it. People across the world are already telling me that they've downloaded it and they're using it.
Fantastic.
The idea is it's aimed at 6 a.m. Australian time with an idea, and 6 p.m. with a divine moment idea of how you could call your family to worship. So each evening there's at 6 p.m. Here's an idea of how you can do a simple worship in your family. So that's a top level of the app. And then if you click on, want to go, what's this about? You can see the research behind why that's important. So you can go and find that and read further.
Yeah.
And if you drill down further, you'll see videos around that. And then even further behind that, you can get into the nitty-gritty. You can go down as far as you want into how deep you want to go into understanding why this is an important faith-building block.
Fantastic. I guess with any initiative or innovation churches or individuals might do, one of the questions is, how do you measure success? How do you know if whatever you're doing is working or not? In your case, I know it's only just been launched, but how do you know if this is working, if it's making a difference?
Yeah, well, it is hard to measure faith and if it's working or not. And I guess I won't know the full results till we get to heaven and the people say, well, yes, I did this and did that. Yeah. I guess, but also with an app, you're able to measure the engagement.
Great. Perfect.
So there's good, you can go in the back end and say, okay, this many people have engaged with it for this long, this is where they engage. So one of the things I'm measuring as a key performance is in Greater Sydney, how many parents are downloading this app and are using it. So I'm able to measure that, which for me will be a success if as I travel from church to church and preach, I can promote the app, and hopefully I'll see the numbers grow as I visit around the churches as well.
Excellent. And it's only early days, I understand, but do you have any vision of what's next? What's the next stage? Is there another phase after this that you're starting to think about?
Well, currently the app has consumed 12 months of my time in reality with the resources and getting them right. So I sort of like breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief at the moment. But I guess I'll keep dreaming of any way that I can find to grow families and what that might look like. So who knows, with AI on the horizon, if AI can help me, some say there's two sides to AI, but if it's a tool, they say that's the next big revolution about to hit us, and whether we like it or not. So I'd like to start training in AI and seeing how AI can assist to grow faith in families.
Yeah, incredible. And you're right, the age we're living in, technology is changing so rapidly. But I love how you've identified an opportunity, you've developed a tool, and now you're testing that tool to see if it improves, parents and their engagement with their children. Can you share some insights What advice might you have to people watching this video who want to do their own thing? They've got their own innovative project. It might not be an app, it might be whatever it is in their church, and they recognize that there's a need in their community and they want to meet that need. But obviously you've been through this journey over the last 12 months or more. What lessons have you learned that could help or encourage others in their pursuit of making an impact?
Yeah, I guess a number of lessons I learned about the whole process was get the right people in the room.
Okay.
And very early in the piece, I met Damien, and Damien's a whiz at apps, and so we got to sit together, and I guess another idea would be to map out where you see this going. So draw a bit of a map on paper, if need be, or use AI, whatever, but map out what you see and keep the end in mind, what you want the end to look like.
Sure.
Right from the start, and keep that dream alive as you work your way through it. Regular communication with your team is crucial, and I guess almost weekly catch-ups to say where we're at, what are the frustrations, what are the roadblocks that we need to overcome, and how we're going to solve those, so troubleshoot together. I guess perseverance and not giving up on your dream, because it's easy to get overwhelmed, especially when Apple rings and wants an hour-long interview about why this is important and why we should host this on our Apple was harder than Google for some reason, but why would she have this, and is this authentic and is it real? And so having those conversations, but being prepared to engage with the hard conversations and not pull back from that. But most of all is persistence and just keep working towards those goals, and then celebrate when you get there, which we did. We did a launch at our recent Greater Sydney Big Camp, and celebrate the fact that we'd reached the 12-month to launch, and all that hard work was worth it, and here it is, ready to go. So,
what a great piece of innovation that you've got. You've spotted the need, you've got a tool, you're testing it now. May God bless this tool, that it will bring and retain so many more young people in the church, and that they can have a great relationship with God and be ready for his soon return.
That's what we're all about. So, yes.
Thanks, Pastor.
Been a pleasure.